From Erik Ten Hag in a moment. But first, Liverpool boss Arne Slot has been talking about his new signing from Juventus, Italian striker Federico Chiesa.
Of course, we're happy with the ones we signed because I said many times that it's difficult for us to make the team even stronger because we already have a very strong team. And if we then find them, of course, we're very happy with that. So Chiesa is someone who can help us for the short term. And Mamashvili, I think I pronounced it then really good, is I think one of the examples where this club did in the past very good as well. That we look also at the future, long-term future of the club, and that's why we signed him.
Any chance of?
Oh yeah, that was your last question. I'm not expecting anything, but again, it's no difference than all the days before. If we see an opportunity, we could act, but I'm not expecting anything.
Just wanted to ask you about Kelleher with Mamardashvili coming in next summer and his long-term future. I mean, how do you see it? Because you've got 2 years left on his contract, but obviously it's going to be different competition for places with Mamardashvili coming in. So at his age, I'd imagine he's got a decision to make on his future.
Maybe, but we have to make decisions as well. It's not only the player. I think if you work at a club like Liverpool, you need competition and we need a lot of good players. And like I said, Mamashvili is someone for the long future of the club, and I'm really, really happy with the goalkeepers we have at the moment. And Cruyff is one of them, like Fiet and Ali. So we're in a good place when it comes to goalkeepers for now and for the long term.
Good start to the season. You've obviously already faced Manchester United in the summer as well, but how different an experience are you expecting going to Old Trafford in the Premier League?
It's going to be different, of course, because when we played them in the States, I think it was 50-50 when it was about the fans. The stadium was somewhere the same. I think it was 80,000 or something like this. But the atmosphere will be completely different, of course, because I'm not expecting half of the stadium that they are cheering for us or they're in favor for us. Would be a surprise though if it happens. So that's going to be different, but what makes it more different is that both teams have a lot of different players on the pitch. So you can't compare that game with the game on Sunday.
Arne, what have you been told about this fixture? What's been said to you around the club this week ahead of going to Old Trafford?
Some of them try to tell me a few things about it, but I don't think that's really necessary. If you're starting to work at Liverpool, everybody knows, every player that comes in knows that, and every manager that comes in knows how important the game against United is. It's similar to when you work at Feyenoord, how big the game against Ajax is. So people tell you, of course, but it's not really necessary, because if you follow the game of football, which I do, for a long time, you know the importance of Liverpool against United or United against Liverpool.
Obviously, 2 Dutch managers in charge. You've already met Erik, both in your home country, but then in pre-season too. How would you describe your relationship with him?
As good and as normal as the relationship you have with many other managers. So Erik, René Haak and Ruud van Nistelrooy have joined him, and the relationship with the both of them is also the same as with Erik. I would call that very good. Because we respect, all of us respect each other a lot because of what these managers did at their former clubs. And they've been successful, all 3 of them, at the clubs they worked at in the past. So there's a good and good relationship between us.
Friends?
No friends. No. Friends is something else, I think. But a very good relationship. But a friend is someone you see a lot and you go out with. Either to dinner but that's not something we've done in the past. That's for that we don't know each other well enough.
Thank you. Hi Arne. On Federico Chiesa, he hasn't played since the Euros and didn't have a pre-season. Just wondering, do the fans have to be a little bit patient with him to see the best out of him? And how excited are you to sign such an exciting winger who is still only 26?
Excited. Like I said before, if we sign someone that can help us achieving our goals and improve the squad, if we then find someone, of course you're really excited that we brought him in. I think one of the best things of working here, what I've noticed till now, is the culture of this team. They work really hard to try to achieve their goals, and I think then it's really important that the first player you bring in has that same attitude and that same, how should I say this, brings the same culture. So he works really hard on and off the pitch to try to get the best out of him, and he combines this with scoring goals and like I said, really aggressive without the ball, and those are already two characteristics with him. Can playing on so many positions on the right, on the left, and maybe even in the middle. Makes him an interesting signing for us. Although I agree with you, we should take care of him in the beginning because he didn't train with the team in the last 2 weeks, but before he did. Haven't played many game minutes yet, but we have a very good performance staff. So we will build him up in the right way, and then hopefully we can see his quality in the near future.
Hi, we've been waiting for news on Scott McTominay and Manuel Ugarte for a couple of days now. I know there's not been any official announcement, but can you update anything yet?
It looks like you know everything. So yeah. So Simon, I can't tell you more than you already know, and so it's not completed yet.
But the deadline closes at 11 o'clock, so presumably you expect it to be completed.
Yes, we expect it, but I can't confirm it by now.
Can you also update what the situation is with Jadon Sancho, please?
Yeah, he is playing our squad, and we are happy with them. And we need a good squad. We need depth in the squad. We have to play many games till January. So the new format of Europe. So after the break we will play every third game. So we need absolutely options.
And so you expect him still to be here after this evening?
As I know, yeah.
Erik, what's the latest with Rasmus Højlund, and when can we expect him back in first team training?
After the break, but when after the break, I think it's 3 weeks from now, and we have to see how it develops, how we can progress during the break to get match fit. But so he returned on the pitch, but it will take a while before he's up, because everyone have seen happens in the first game. So he need also go up and build some fitness.
I know you can't confirm anything, but you would have seen the scenes yesterday of Scott McTominay at Naples airport getting a very warm welcome by the fans. Was that a nice thing for you to see? Massive smile on his face, him being so welcomed so quickly?
It's a little bit mixed. I'm very happy for him, and it's also for us. But it's mixed because I wouldn't prefer to lose him because he is Man United in every vein. He was so important for our team, for Manchester United. He was here for over 22 years. But unfortunately, it's the rules, and we have to discuss the rules when you have to do sales, and then obviously homegrown players. So academy players, they bring more value, and that's not the right thing to do. But I think for everyone, for all parts, it's a good deal. For Scott, he's happy with it. Of course, for Napoli, very good player, but also for us.
Erik, looking ahead to this weekend, then, what is the team news heading into Liverpool?
What do you mean with team news? You wanna have the lineup?
In an ideal world, yes, but I don't think you're going to give us that. Are we looking at the same again, or do you have more options this weekend?
No, we have so Mason Mount. We all have seen he's not available for the weekend, and then I think that's it. And for the rest, is the same squad as last week.
With Liverpool in mind, obviously you had 2 good games against them at Old Trafford in the League and Cup last year. Is it a tie that excites you coming so early in the season, and what differences have you already seen in the way Arne Slot lines up his team?
It's always when Liverpool comes, it's very exciting, and we are really looking forward to compete with them. So we have a good squad. We can bring a good team out. Of course, it's early in the season. We have to progress. We have to improve. Also because we have to integrate some new players in, but we are really looking forward for this game.
Neil, What are you getting with the new player that you maybe didn't have with Scott? Why have you sort of made the change?
With the new player, to make a change, I think you can't. I don't. It's not a comparison. It's not that you can compare those two players because they are different players. But so we had 3 number 10s, and we didn't have any more holding midfielders apart from we had 1. So that is the idea behind.
Erik, Dan Ashworth said at the UEFA draw regarding the transfer window, let's see what happens, the window's still open, we have some conversations going on. Do you think there'll be any more incomings, or do you think the next player will be the final player to come in?
It's what Dan has said everything. So I don't have to go into this because it's already said. So I think we always look for opportunities to bring out the best squad we can have.
Just for this weekend, Marcus Rashford's got a very good record against Liverpool, but he had some criticism from Alan Shearer last week. You took him off just after Ahmad scored. Is he lacking confidence? I know you said a couple of weeks ago he wasn't, but he's had some good chances this season and not taken them.
Everyone gets criticism from you guys. Doesn't matter what we are doing. If we are winning, if we are losing, if I take a player off, then it's a conclusion. I'm not happy with him. I was very happy with Ressi in pre-season against Fulham, also against Brighton. It was not because that I took him off because his performances or his level was not right. No, we have to rotate, and we have good players on the bench as well. You bring new energy to win the game, and there will be a rotation. And that if then there's the conclusion, a player is not performing, can be sometimes, but definitely it wasn't in this case. So stupid analyze in this case from a pundit.
We are keeping an eye on all of those moves. I don't know if that's an exclusive just yet, but we will defer to you for transfers. We'll start our preview now, though, because it's the big one. Manchester United, Liverpool, Old Trafford, Sunday. One of the biggest rivalries in world football. I know that this is the game. Doesn't matter how many millions of miles away you are from Old Trafford, which is where it's being staged on Sunday. People come to a standstill to watch this, and that gave us an element, an idea of just how big it is globally.
100%. This is one of the biggest games in world football, and for somebody like myself who played for Man City, I used to say, oh, United versus City, that's the big rivalry. Not really, and even from this side of Man City and Liverpool now, you think that's a big rivalry. Well, this one between United and Liverpool, it's more historic. It's got more sort of like bigger memories to it, and the two sets of supporters and clubs, like, they do hate each other. You know, this is one of the reasons why there aren't many players that have happened to play for both. I know the show sometimes has someone that has in Michael Owen, but I think outside of that, there's him, there's Paul Ince, and I can't think of many others. There's something about how if you play for one, there's no way on this earth you even consider playing for the other. They will never forget you. So this is a huge game, and it's so early in the season. It's like a real blessing to have this in the Premier League.
It doesn't even matter where they are, what they're chasing. It doesn't matter if they're chasing titles, if they're doing well, if one of them's not having a great season like we saw with Manchester United last time out. It doesn't matter that United lost last weekend, does it?
No, it's like I said, it's one of the biggest games in the world. And even when I was in different parts of the world, in Asia, doesn't matter what time it was, Man United, Liverpool, this game, they would have watched it. Regardless of what happened the week before, season before, or 10 seasons before, it's all about the here and now. And whoever wins that game this weekend, they're the talk of the town. So it's a massive game, and you can't really underestimate how big it is until you see, like you'd have seen in America, different parts of the world, that it's watched absolutely everywhere.
So Chiesa not going to start, not fit enough. We'll get to him in just a moment. Erik Ten Hag, how much pressure is he under for the... Erik Ten Hag's always under pressure. That was a silly question. I mean, how much would he love to get this victory considering what happened last time out? And then do you have any idea about the Sancho transfer? What would need to happen? How close or far it is?
Well, I think for the transfer of Sancho to Chelsea to happen, obviously Sterling would have to leave Chelsea, and there has been no real movement on that just yet. Sterling is very much the master of his own destiny as far as that's concerned, given he's got 3 years left in his contract. He hasn't asked to leave the club. Sancho is interesting because, as I was saying before, I did interview him last season at some length, and we talked off camera as well, and he talked about the fact that he's not very trusting of lots of people. He needs to be in a place where he feels really secure to be able to produce his best football self. And Chelsea are a club, well, Madueke is doing very well down that right-hand side at the moment, scored a wonderful hat-trick last weekend, and in tandem with Cole, needs to be in a place where he feels really secure to be able to produce his best football because he feels good about himself. And Chelsea are a club, well, Madueke is doing very well down that right-hand side at the moment, scored a wonderful hat-trick, is playing very well. So I'm quite fascinated to see how this is going to pan out as far as Sancho is concerned. Is Ten Hag under pressure? Yes, he is, because you're in charge of the biggest club in the world. But set against that, I remember there was a period where Liverpool were carrying all before them and United were terrible in the last couple of years. But they always seem to show each other way too much respect. And I think this could be a fascinating game of chess rather than an all-out attack.
Especially because of what happened last weekend. I've mentioned it twice now, but United, Zesh at Brighton, losing late on, the subs that Ten Hag made, the way that Hurtler was a little bit more ambitious with his subs, and it paid off. And just the fact that United, you know, lost again.
They've kept a style of play and an identity which has become known to them now, and they deserve it for being brave, for pushing for the victory right at the end.
Zesh, in this next bit of footage we see here for the winning goal, right?
Yeah.
You see players running out and players on the back post. What's going on here?
I think they've just had a complete rush of... They've switched off. So basically when you come out, Nathan, you would know, you need to come out marking your man or come out in a line as a unit. You need leadership at the back, you need organisation, and clearly there's 2-3 men at the back post unmarked. Something's missing in the heart of the defence, and when you want to win games late on, that can't happen.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly fair. And I think at times as a player, you can be guilty of just ball watching. And you tend to fall into that mindset when you're in a sense of desperation. But as we look back at that goal, you only need one person to see him. Yeah. But unfortunately for United, the person that saw it was a dinger for Brighton. And it has been a great pass. And everyone will look around and say, well, how's this person free? Well, from Onana to the defenders, to the midfielders, to the attackers, not one person noticed the guy that was free at the back post. And unfortunately, like, this is how you can get punished.
Yeah, so many red shirts in there. And as you mentioned, a little bit guilty of ball watching. Adingra, as I'd mentioned earlier, was one of those subs that came on. If they give Mo Salah that kind of space, knowing what Mo Salah does against Manchester United, 6 goals at Old Trafford, the most in history by a visiting player, they will be in big trouble.
Yeah, Mo Salah at Old Trafford almost feels inevitable, to be honest. And it's not necessarily something the United fans want to hear, but that's the reality of it. And I think if United do defend like that, then yes, they will be in trouble. But I thought overall against Brighton, I thought they were okay. I don't think it was as bad as, say, the result sort of married itself to. And I think in different moments, they'd probably win that game. I think having a goal disallowed, and obviously the one at the end with Xerxes' knee being hit. And they just need to improve in the moments. But unfortunately for them, the person who tends to step up when someone's having a bad moment is Mo Salah. The guy does it over and over and over and over again against them. And I think to see someone that comfortable at Old Trafford, it just... I never thought in my lifetime I'd see that, to be honed.
I have lots of questions today. Do you mind if I ask?
No, please, go ahead.
Because I've got these 2 defenders here, right? And I look at the fact that there was so much mobility in the Liverpool attack against... who they play in their first game? No, they played Ipswich in the attack against Ipswich. And I just look at that fluidity that Arne Slot's managed to retain and the fact that you can move Maguire around, you can play balls inside the fullback, as they have done. And it worries me for Manchester United. What do you do as a defender when you're coming up against a side like that?
To be honest, I was a defender, but we also happen to have a coach here as well. So Coach, what would you do?
Well, I think because they're that good, I think it's a damage limitation job, and I'll explain what I mean. So no matter what you do, they can unlock it. So if you have a high line, they can go in behind you. If you drop deep, they can play through or around you. So you need to be brave at times, not to be too deep, but also probably not as aggressive as Ipswich were in the first half. So it depends on your personnel, but you've got to find that middle ground where you're comfortable enough to limit their threats. But it's easier said than done.
Yeah, I agree. And I think realistically as well, some people have a perception whereby you should always be able to stop the opposition. Well, that's not necessarily defending. The goals are pretty big and the players you're playing against are pretty good. But what you can do is make it as hard as possible for them to be able to know you have to be organised, you have to be competitive, you have to try and upset their rhythm, upset their timing, but also realise that the other team will have chances, and that's also why you have a goalkeeper. You know, goalkeepers in there to make saves as well, not just to just be comfortable and do nothing. So it takes a total sort of effort to limit a side. And it's not impossible because, as far as I see, Liverpool aren't the greatest team that's ever played football either. So, and I think playing at home, you've got to be on the front foot and get the crowd behind you.
Forgot how spicy you are, actually.
No, it's because he said.
Goalkeepers are not just there.
It's when Darren, to be fair, it's when he said United are just the biggest club in the world. I could hear so many people shaking their heads on the TV screen. But such is life.
Okay, Darren, a question you have to answer yourself.
Okay, go on.
Okay, it's about Chiesa. What a fascinating signing, because I don't really understand how they got him for that price.
Yes.
And if you consider Euro 2020, he didn't kick on because he was injured, and he's not quite lived up to the hype, right?
Yeah, the key word is injured because he has had his problems over the last couple of seasons, and that's why it's gone for around about £12.5 billion. He's only 26 years of age, so he's got a lot of football in him and a lot of mileage on the clock and a lot of quality as well. He'll play down that right-hand side. I'm one of life's big cynics, and I look at the contract negotiations or not in relation to Mo Salah and what might happen with him. He looks after himself superbly well. He doesn't drink, bad things. So, he's probably going to be scoring goals deep into his 30s. But there you've got a ready-made replacement for him if things don't go Liverpool's way.
Interesting fact, which I'm surprised you haven't mentioned yet.
I'm not allowed to do stats anymore. Remember you told me, because they're all on the screen.
You say facts or stats?
No, it's not me, but it's facts. It's the same thing. It's because we have this brand new look for the show.
Looks fantastic.
Even I'm not allowed to anymore. But our stats guy has just told me that £35 million have been spent on transfer deadline day this season. Last season was over 200 million. So spending is down significantly. And while we're talking about that, why don't we round up some of the other transfers since it's deadline day across the Premier League?